write the story of our world every day. Listen and your heart may open up. If ever you feel frightened of our world that's washed away, a mother is a mother, come to us. Women, 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 women. Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will all live on until we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you. Women.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Liebau, the Scheherazade Project's co-founder with Julia Alvarez, and this is the hashtag 101 Nights show. Back on July 25th, we began our countdown with creativity to Election Day 2020. Now we're less than a month away. We set out to have at least 101 women artists sharing stories in any art form, and with your help, we've grown well beyond that. Our beloved community of artists, art lovers, and activists is gaining momentum. Let's use that energy to engage in democracy. Vote, encourage others to vote, drive someone to the polls, or volunteer to count absentee ballots. Here's another way you can nourish the grassroots. Share your YouTube, IGTV, or Facebook links to your favorite hashtag 101 Nights episodes via social media or messages to friends and family. Tonight's featured artist is storyteller, author, and musician Heather Forrest. She's founder and executive director of Story Arts, Inc., a nonprofit organization dedicated to the art of storytelling and its educational applications. Her 17 folktale books and recordings have won numerous awards. She's been featured 10 times at the National Storytelling Festival in Tennessee and has appeared at the Museum of Modern Art, New York, the Smithsonian Institute, Washington, D.C., the Sidmouth International Folk Festival, England, and the Glistening Waters Storytelling Festival in New Zealand. She's a recipient of the Circle of Excellence Award presented by the National Storytelling Network, and we welcome to the Scheherazade's hashtag 101 Nights screen, Heather Forrest.
Here's an ancient legend told in cultures on both sides of the North Atlantic, from Iceland to the British Isles. Here's my version of a silky story called The Sealskin. It's a tale about a woman who loses her skin. The sea pounded the rocky Icelandic shore and slid like a foaming mirror back into itself. A young fisherman climbed the boulders at the water's edge. A brisk wind whipped his face. He made his way toward a cave opening, seeking shelter from the sea spray. As he approached, he heard sweet singing drifting out of the darkness. Coming closer, he saw black seal skins draped on the rocks in front of the cave opening. He silently crept up to one of the skins and snatched it away. Clutching it tightly, he hid behind a rock and waited. Before long, beautiful dark-eyed women emerged from the cave. They dressed themselves in the sealskin and returned to the sea. One woman, however, looked about frantically everywhere, finally, with a shiver and a sigh, she sat on a rock and wept. The fisherman's heart swelled with an unexplainable longing for that woman. His love for her swept his good sense away, and he could think of nothing but bringing her home with him. He hid her skin under some stones and approached the strange woman. She did not flee. He put his coat about her bare shoulders, and speaking only with his eyes, he led her home with him. He fed her fish cakes and warm broth. She fell asleep on his bed. The fisherman listened to her quiet, even breathing. He admired her long black hair, strewn like seaweed over his pillow. He wanted her to stay. When her sleep was deep, he returned to the cave, and he found her skin where he had hidden it, under some stones, and he brought it home with him. While the beautiful woman slept, the fisherman hid her skin in a chest and locked the lid. The key, that he put in his pocket, and he promised himself that he would keep it with him always. Days, weeks, months passed. The fisherman treated his unusual visitor so tenderly. She soon loved him, and they were married. Oh, to the villagers they seemed happy enough. But the woman never spoke, and some days she would sit for hours on the rocks at the water's edge. Her dark eyes gazed sullenly at the swelling sea. Time passed. They had 7 children. Oh, she treated them well, but every day she brought her children to the water's edge, and as they played in the sand, she sat on the rocks and looked out to sea. Her dark eyes always had such a sad, faraway look. One day, the fisherman took all the children to town. His wife had felt ill, and she stayed behind. As she gathered his clothes scattered in the rush of leaving, a key fell with a clatter to the floor. She picked it up. She'd never seen it before. She looked about the cottage to see what it could open. The chest had long been used as a bench. She pushed the key into the welcoming hole and lifted the lid, and there, in the shadows of the chest, she saw her black sealskin. A gasp washed over her like a wave. She remembered the taste of the ocean and the surging of the tides. She pried the sealskin from its hiding place, and clutching it to her breast, she ran, tripping, stumbling to the sea, slipping the skin on. She slid into the ocean. An eerie song drifted over the waves. Some say they heard it. I've 7 children on the land, and 7 must return to my children in the sea. My heart is torn for those I've borne. Salt tears, my choice must be. She never returned, but whenever the fisherman's children walked along the water's edge, they said there was a dark-eyed seal that swam close to shore, splashing jellyfish and colorful shells up on the land to delight them. The fisherman's nets were always full of cod. He said there was a seal who swam about his boat, splashing the good catch his way. Here's my retelling of an ancient Celtic ballad about a young maiden whose true love comes along on a fine white horse. But in this old tale, she saves him. Lady Janet's father warned her never to go near the well at Carter Hall, for there it was an enchanted place where the Queen of Elfland held her court. Oh, but Janet, she was a sprightly maid who followed only her own will. So she tucked her kirtle up round her waist, and she went off to the well. She went off to the well. Deep into her father's woods she ran, and when she arrived at the well, she saw that wild roses grew round it. They were so beautiful, she plucked one. Suddenly, before her stood a tall white steed, and on that horse there sat a man dressed in Elfland green. "Who bids me here?" he said. "I did not bid you visit me," she replied. I plucked only this rose." "But these are my roses," he said, "that grow round the well at Carter Hall." "And who are you?" she asked, "who stands here upon my own father's royal lands?" "I am Tamlin," he replied. "I am a knight of the Fairy Queen. Oh, I was once a mortal. I was the grandson of the Earl of Roxborough. But my horse, it stumbled in this strange place, and as I lay stunned upon the ground, the Fairy Queen put me under her spell. I serve her now beneath this well." On and on he spoke. Janet's eyes grew wide as Tamlin told her secrets of what it was like to live in the underground world of the fairy kingdom. Tamlin's eyes grew sad as he gazed at Janet's face and form. He had forgotten what it felt like to be a man, and his heart yearned for her. Well, many a day after that she returned, for her heart too yearned. She'd summon her love with a rose and stay all day till the moon was above. In time, the fair Lady Janet and the enchanted man, Tamlin, were deep in love. And so it happened. Janet's father noticed that she was with child, And seeing her widening girth, he raged, "Which of my knights has done this to you? Is he a man of worth? None of your knights is as fair or as fine as the secret father of this child of mine." "A secret father, say ye? Name him, that you might openly claim him." "Oh, I cannot," she said. "Oh, and to none of your knights will I ever be wed." "To none of my knights, say ye? Very well. Off you go. We'll find you a proper husband in Edinburgh." But Janet's heart was already pledged to Tamlin. Deep into the woods she ran, and summoning her love with a rose, she said, "Tamlin, Tamlin, come." And when he appeared, she said, "Oh, is there not a way to break the spell that holds you here against your will? Wouldn't you be the father of your own child openly?" "Aye, lass, I would. But it would take a brave heart to work the plan. Janet, you are beautiful, but are you brave as well?" "Oh, yes, that I am." "Then come close," for it was as if the leaves and trees had ears to hear. "Janet, on All Hallows Eve, the fairy queen will ride up out of the fairy mound, followed by her knights. I will be in the third company. You know me. I'll be riding on a tall white mare. One hand will be gloved, and one hand will be bare. By midnight, we will arrive at the well at Miles Cross. Hide in the shadows, and when you see me pass, drag me from my horse. Dear lass, do not let me stray. All about the fairies will cry out, 'Tamlin is away.' Oh, Janet, I fear they will turn me into gruesome things. But do not let me go until they turn my living flesh into a burning coal, then throw me into the well. The water will wash away the spell." And so, on a dark and gloomy All Hallows Eve, Janet crept from the castle, and she went to the well at Miles Cross. She crouched in the shadows, and she drew her cloak about her shivering shoulders, and she waited. At midnight she heard it, the tinkling of the fairy bells. She saw an eerie green light. Then she saw the fairy queen come riding, 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 followed by her knights. The first, the second, the third company passed. She saw Tamlin, just as he said. He was riding on a tall white mare, one hand gloved, one hand bare. She reached up out of the shadows, and she dragged him to the ground as all around the fairies cried, "Tamlin is away." Janet saw the fairy queen turn in a flash of black satin, and in a glare of green eyes. She felt Tamlin shrivel in her arms to become a slimy lizard. She held him tight. He became a coiling snake. She held with all her might. He became a bear with sharp claws, a wolf with wide jaws. She did not let go. He became a lion who pinned her roaring to the ground, but still full with belly she clung round. He became a bar of molten iron. Oh, she gasped, but did not let go, until they turned his living flesh into a burning coal. She threw him hard into the well, as all about the fairies cried, "Look, the maiden broke the spell." And up out of the well came a human, Tamlin. Janet threw her cloak about him to hide him from their sight. The fairy queen turned in a rage and said, "So Janet, I see you freed my favorite knight. Tamlin, if yesterday this I had only known, I would have cut out your heart of living flesh and given you back one of unfeeling stone. And if now I had the power and I could, I'd pluck out your eyes for what you've seen and spoken of and give you back ones of wood. And with that, the evil queen turned and rode off with her host. The tinkling fairy bells grew faint, as did the elfin light. But as Janet held Tamlin trembling in the dark, she knew he would be her delight. She knew he would be her delight.
Thank you to our featured artists and to you for joining the Scheherazade Project's hashtag 101 Nights. We're fast approaching Election Day and we need all of us to draw attention to it. Please add your voice by posting a photo or video of your story, poem, dance, tapestry, painting, song, any art you wish to share on your Twitter or Instagram account, and include hashtag 101 NIGHTS. In the meantime, if voter registration deadlines haven't yet passed in your state, volunteer to register voters. And of course, go vote, everyone.
Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will live on, and so we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you. Women.